Hello boxing world, this is Pop Off the Wiz, aka Every Round Boxing. If you like boxing, this is where you want to be. If you love boxing, this is where you want to be. If you eat, sleep, and breathe boxing, this is where you want to be. Happy Thanksgiving to you all. I know I'm kind of late, so please bear with me. It's been a crazy week, but if you watched the first vlog on this channel, then you should already know I wasn't going to let this one pass me by. I'm gonna need y'all to hit that like button, and if you haven't already subscribed, hit the subscribe also. Let's get it. This is the No Cap Recap, and we are at the Hangover After. We're back once again, and it all went down Saturday night, December 20th at the Mandalay Bay Event Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. And boy, was this a treat, especially for anyone that's a hardcore fan like myself. I mean, I don't give a fuck what era you're a fan of when it comes to the sport, whether you're a fan of boxing in the 80s, boxing in the 90s, boxing in the early 2000s. You cannot tell me that this one didn't give everyone a modern day classic feel. Let's be real, the whole vibe had throwback written all over it, from the build up all the way down to the final bell. I like to call this the Mitchell-Ness fight right here, man, where Terence "Bud" Crawford squared off against Showtime Shawn Porter for the IBO welterweight championship. Now, it's no secret that the outcome is receiving a lot of mixed reviews and backlash from fight fans everywhere, but of course that would be the case when emotions were running so high for this bout. I mean, a lot of folks are forgetting that this matchup was about 2.5 years in the making. Yeah, it's been that long since negotiations for this started, bro. And one of the biggest questions here was, would they deliver? In my humble, honest opinion, I believe they did. Fight of the year? Probably not. But if you paid attention, both boxers, yes, both of them kept their word. Porter said his job was to go in there, make Crawford uncomfortable. Crawford said that if he had to fight fire with fire, that's what he was going to do. From the looks of it, it didn't take very long for business to pick up. I know that they're friends. I know that they have a lot of respect for one another, but I also know there are no friends once that bell rings. And it's no surprise that they were mentally prepared to dap each other's faces up the way they were dapping each other up before this all began. Hell, as soon as the bell rung, Porter damn near leaped towards Crawford to throw a right hook followed by a combination, and anyone who's anyone was not surprised by the fast-paced, high-speed intensity in which this fight manifested. Come on, we know. We all know, when Shawn Porter's in the ring, he dictates the pace for the most part due to his barn burner style. So to anyone that was tuned in, I know on the surface one would be under the impression that Terence Crawford was bothered by it, because by the second round he was already using the southpaw stance. It's almost like I want to say he found something early on, but really I feel like it was something that was already there the whole time, bro. And he made the adjustment because it would be easier for him to not only time Porter with his left hand, but also catch Porter lunging in and disrupt, neutralize Porter's high volume work rate. Which is ironic, being that that's what Porter was in there to do to Crawford, make him uneasy and hesitant. For a great portion of the fight, they both made each other earn everything the other was dishing out. A lot of clean, effective counterpunching occurred. Porter's right hand was there damn near the whole night. Crawford's check hook might have not been landing consistently. It was on display, and there was no doubt in my mind that it would be finding its mark sooner or later. Both guys were setting traps, and both guys were not only dodging, but also falling for each other's traps. Long story short, it was Home Alone. They didn't even need to be in front of 12,000 people, bro. At this point, I don't even think the green room inside the bubble would have even mattered, because all these killers needed was the ring. Every time Porter would lunge in, Crawford would throw sneaky uppercuts to the body and head. His counters to the body were dissected. So it's mind-blowing to me that Porter seemed to be taking them very well. But let me tell you, these sounded like gunshots. Talk about a fastball going 100 miles and into the catcher's mitt. Shit. Because of that, I'm actually having a hard time admitting that even then, during a lot of those exchanges on the inside, Shawn Porter was getting the best of Bud, in my opinion. Porter landed one right hand that was so flush, Crawford looked towards the ref confused, like, well, how the fuck, how did he land that shit? Porter was also landing a straight left hand to the midsection early on, and I'm really hoping no one slept on Shawn's body work, because he was digging himself, fam. Credit to both guys, because neither neglected anything that needed to be done in this fight. I mean, Shawn Porter, upstairs, downstairs, short uppercuts, hooks, Man, listen, to anyone who wasn't familiar with these fighters or even with the sport of boxing in general, quote unquote casuals, the perception in some of those rounds would be that he was pretty much fucking Crawford up. Now, I know Bud fans ain't gonna agree with that, and I'm sure they would like to think that these people are out of their damn minds, but that's why this is boxing, mate. And the other night, we watched two elite fighters inside of that ring. Not just one, two of them. Wesley Snipes and Exhibit. By the 6th round, both fighters were cut, and of course that's what happens when you have a southpaw stance against a conventional, because sometimes those accidental headbutts are inevitable. I say that to say, was it pretty? No, because we already know Porter fights ugly as hell. He'll headbutt you, wrestle, elbow, poke you, bite you. Shit, that's just who he is. And he let it be known right away that he wasn't in there to play. They say you don't play boxing, right? But if this was Fight Night round 5, I'm pretty sure we all know he can play. I mean, the mans was eating in them rounds like Pac-Man, no pun intended. Forget everything but the kitchen sink. Bro threw the whole kitchen at his ass. Now, let me just say, both fighters looked to be in tremendous shape, and that just lets you know how serious this was. Terence Crawford damn near had to carry Porter halfway across the ring when they got tangled up in the clinch just to let him know, yeah, you ain't the only one with muscles in here, dude. It's real. And I'm starting to see more and more the fans are pointing out how Crawford gets caught in fights, and that is something that I myself have noticed over the years since his fights with Gamboa, Diaz, Benavidez, Mean Machine. But remember, this is boxing. You will get hit, some more than others. Therefore, I'm really starting to believe that Crawford gets hit because he can take them shits. I feel that he does what he wants to do in there when he wants to do it, and if it's got to come down to him taking some to give some, then he's all for it, whether he's on the outside or the inside. It got to the point that whenever Porter had some success, Crawford would smile and taunt him, literally looked like he was trolling him in the ring. Now, some fans may disagree with that and say he was smiling because he was hurt or because he was uncomfortable, and hey, that just very well may be true. But did he look uncomfortable when he established his jab, maintaining the distance with his reach advantage, landing that lead left and doubling up on those combinations with hooks and uppercuts? Did he look uncomfortable when he turned what was supposed to be a shootout for the other guy into a sniping contest for himself after applying time counters that accumulated into a barrage of punches? Yeah, don't think so. I peeped he was doing a lot of mouthing off towards Porter too. And it's funny because Bud isn't really much of a trash talker, so please just don't confuse his confidence for trash talking. This man lets his hands do the talking, and he lets his hands do the talking like sign language. It's not only that the guy is fast, he's sudden with his approach, the way he can adjust on the fly in real time and does it at will, the way he keeps his composure, remains cool, calm, and collective, takes his time, furthermore proving that patience is a virtue. Are there times he can get carried away trying to trade in a dogfight? Is he known to get a little stubborn here and there? Yes, but that's what his trainer Bo Mack is there in his corner for, to bring him back down to earth from time to time. It's no secret that Terence Bud Crawford is of superior caliber. People wondered, people asked, people anticipated what he would look like going against a quality opponent. Mind you, him and Porter do share a common opponent in Kell Brook, but of course those were two different versions of Kell Brook. Doesn't matter anymore, because Saturday night, the time came, the day arrived, and if there was ever any questions, he gave everyone the AI. If this was a test, flying colors like the Power Rangers, because he aced that motherfucker. And despite what the judges' official scorecards were going into the 10th round, whether you believe Porter was up or Crawford was up, when TC's corner told him that he might be down, he went out there and instantly dropped Shawn Porter, not once, but twice. The most Shawn Porter's been down in his entire professional career. Facts. Forcing Kenny Porter, Shawn's trainer / father, to stop the fight. Facts. Being the first guy to ever stop Showtime Shawn Porter. Facts. Now, I know a lot didn't agree with the stoppage, and we will be getting to that in a few. But first we have to give credit where credit is due. Terence Crawford put the switch on that Glock, and he pulled the trigger when it was time to. No matter which way people try to twist, turn, and slice or dice, he did what he had to do. You hear me? Shawn Porter was so adamant about facing Crawford too, that he called him up personally requesting this fight. The football player said it was a Super Bowl. Well, he was catching some shit alright. He was catching them hands. If he was ever a gatekeeper, he just got left on the other side of the gate, you dig? Showtime? Hey, show's over. They said Crawford was on the wrong side of the street, well then I'm guessing Porter ended up on the wrong block. Speaking of streets, it was said by Kenny Porter that his son Shawn moved into the house across the street from his house. Well, I'm sure by the response to the way this fight ended, some fans will advise Shawn to move to another state far away from his dad. Now let's talk. Some say it was a premature stoppage. Some say he was going to get stopped either way. You know what I say? It is what it is. Shawn Porter was raw spelled backwards, but his pops felt he needed to wave the white flag. Do I feel he should have gave him another chance? Yes, I do. But when you go back and look at the footage, you can somewhat understand why Kenny Porter did what he did. Hell, if anyone caught the ESPN telecast a couple weeks ago and saw Shawn Porter sleeping on live TV, you might understand why Kenny Porter wouldn't have wanted to see his son sleeping in the middle of that ring. But at the same time though, he was probably sleeping because he was more than likely working his ass off for this fight, Pops. So maybe Kenny's emotions did get the best of him. Maybe he panicked. Maybe he did have his mind made up before the fight that if Shawn ended up in that situation, he was going to stop it. Now, I don't like to contradict myself, so when these kind of things happen, it just pisses me off. Not only because I have to be fair and put myself in everyone's shoes involved, but there's no way Shawn wasn't angered or hurt by his father's decision. I know it, you guys know it, Kenny Porter knows it, whole world knows it. I can already tell this will be talked about for years to come, and I got a facepalm because these 30 for 30 moments will come back like ghosts from the past, dog. What I don't agree with and what I felt was kind of fucked up was the way he threw Shawn under the bus during those post-fight interview and post-fight press conferences. There's just some things that don't have to be leaked to the public. See, because now what happens is you say he was unprepared, you say you planned on throwing the towel before the fight even started, and now it just sounds like you already had a reason or excuse prior to the fight because you didn't even want Shawn to take this fight in the first place. So you not only somewhat tainted Terence Crawford's victory by taking away an actual stoppage, you not only let your son take a fight that you weren't fully on board with, but you robbed your son a chance to redeem himself in a sport where anything can happen at any given moment after working his ass off to give this dude the fight of his life. Then got the audacity to sit up there and say what you said after the fact. SMH. But when it comes to Shawn Porter announcing his retirement, I just have to commend him for going out there and fighting his heart out, man. Porter always brought the heat, and we know that. People could say what they want, but he had several good fights and them shits were always action-packed. The intensity, the energy, the adrenaline was always there. He's fought damn near everyone in the division, never made excuses, didn't put on a fake persona, was always humble, and we have to thank him for giving us what we wanted because he always brought something to the table. So please, let's not start this narrative that Terence Crawford retired Shawn Porter. Don't do that. Y'all know that's not what happened. These fighters have to live with these things for the rest of their lives, and I'm sure when people tell the story, they're going to want us to tell it right. I have nothing but the utmost respect for Shawn Porter, and I believe he has a bright future ahead of him with his career as a commentator. He was just up against the guy that most would say is at another level. Some say he's the best pound for pound and the best fighter on the planet. Others say he's the number 2. Some say he's the best welterweight in the division. Others say he's the number 2 under the Uno. But let me just say, if Errol Spence Jr. has a counterpart in that division, I'm almost, kinda, absolutely, pretty sure everyone knew it was this guy from Omaha. They wanted Bud? Well, Bud has been delivered to your front door. Who wants smoke? He's a real one, and he just cleared up any confusion there may have been and gave the world full clarification that another Alpha Omega is there at 147 amongst the elites. Like Biggie Smalls said, if you don't know, now you know who your IBO welterweight champion is, and still undefeated with a record of 38 wins, 0 losses, 29 coming by way of knockout, stopping everyone he's faced since his arrival at 147 with 6 TKOs. He's one of the 6 undisputed champs in boxing history and a future Hall of Famer, Terence Bud Crawford. Pop out, I'm out. Peace.